I'm going to try to install the Velit heater today. Having some trouble figuring out where exactly I'm going to put it. I want to install it somewhere in this bay, but I've got quite a few limitations in terms of how I can install it, where I can install it. Ideally, and I've got this upside down because it's not going to sit on this, but this gives me a good idea of positioning. I would love to have it like this, and I'm going to duct it that way so I have different vents going into the rooms, because that would be perfect. But I can't install it here because directly under here is where the undermount gray water tank is going to be located. So I can't do it here. I need to do it along this plane, but I can't do it here or here, and let me show you why. As a point of reference, we're going to use this bolt, which goes all the way through the floor. So let me show you what that looks like under the van. Okay. All right. To orient you under the van, this is the running board here. And so we're looking now at the bottom of that bolt. I used rubberized coating spray around it to waterproof it. So this is your bolt of reference here. And this is the bay we have to work with. And then here's an obstacle. And then here is an obstacle. And then again, this is another place we could have installed it, except for this is where the gray water tank mounts. So we have a choice of putting it here in this space as far over as we can against this, or coming the next bay over, which is here. So I can get into this spot or this spot. Remember, there's a bar here, and there's the bar that goes across here, right? So I've got this bay right here, and then this other side here. Ideally, it would be here, because that means all of this could be open space for a drawer or some other storage. If I put it here, that pretty much takes up the entire bay, and that's not ideal. So if I do put it in this position here, marked by the tape, I pre-measure that, and this is about where it would be. I can't have it this way. I can't have it this way because I need clearance on the back, and I need enough clearance on the front to hook up the ductwork. So I can have it here like this. I'm procrastinating a bit, even though I've measured this and thought about it, and measured it, thought about it. For some reason, cutting this hole for the heater is worse than any other hole I put in the van. I put in air conditioner, max air fan, windows, bolts through the floor. But this one, I don't know why it's got me, but I'm procrastinating. So I went ahead and mocked up the ducting system so I can show you what I'm trying to solve for here. So I'll bring you in closer in a minute, but I just want to show you the big picture. The heater is here, obviously. I do have a flexible duct on that, and it does come through here just fine. There's going to be a T connector somewhere in this position here. And so from the T, it'll come up, and there'll be a vent here. All of the vents are closable and adjustable in multiple ways. So in the event that we need to shut down some of the vents or keep only one open or two, whatever, we have that flexibility. So T connector here, vent here, it goes on, and the bed ends here, right? So when the bed is in the down position, it's going to land right here at the edge. So if I only had one heat outlet here, it's going to make under the bed pretty warm, but this entire other space may not get heat because heat will rise and get trapped in this general space here. So just beyond where the bed comes down, I'll have another T, and we'll have the water tank goes here. There'll be floor-to-ceiling cabinets here. So in this cabinet system, there'll be another one of these outlets, again, closable, somewhere in this vicinity here, or it could be here. We'll figure that out. And then off of the T, it'll go straight back. There'll be a wall here for the bathroom, which is here, and there'll be another vent going straight into the bathroom. So that's the overall design. Let me show you a little closer. Then this will come out here with that flex hose. That'll work out really well and come right through this channel. And this channel was intentionally made the exact width required for this hose, a 3-inch hose. And again, the T will be somewhere in this vicinity so that we can have a vent somewhere here. Move along. We'll have another T here for the kitchen area, and then it'll go back to the bathroom with that vent. This is the hole saw I'm going to use. It's brand new. It's a 5-inch hole saw. This is the exact size we need for the turret to go through. This did not come with the Velit heater. This was a separate purchase from Amazon. I'm going to link that in the description below. Because my floor is 2 inches, give or take, all the way through, we couldn't use the plate that came with it. So I had to purchase this. And it fits perfectly, by the way, on here. So no modification required. It fits perfectly. Okay, so I'll be able to go under the van with this and get pretty close to where I need to drill. So that ended up exactly where I wanted it to be. It's in the wrong place. That was terrible acting. It's in the right place. This is Rust-Oleum undercoating spray. It's a rubberized product, and I'm going to put it all over that entire area. You may or may not be able to see this, but I covered the entire compartment down here with rubberized spray. Because why not? I was down here, it was clean, and when I put the turret and everything in here, then I may not be able to access those areas again. So I went ahead and just sprayed everything. All right, the hole is cut in the van for the heater install, and we're going to let that rubberized coating dry for a little bit. In the meantime, I brought everything back inside, and we're going to work on the next steps. You may or may not recall that I said this turret doesn't need any modification, and that would be inaccurate. What I didn't see is that it has, this is the original plate that comes with it. This is aftermarket. It has this little cutout here, and that cutout is for this wire that feeds power to the fuel pump. So that actually has to go through the bottom and out to the fuel pump under the van. Turret does not have that. So I'm just going to put this over top of here. Maybe you can see this better. We've got the original and then the turret, and this is the part. So I'll just match up all the holes. I'm just going to use a marker and mark that out. I'll take it to the barn and cut that, and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. I cut out this section here. It's not exactly like the template, but I decided to make it straight for a reason. We're going to put this little gasket on there, and well, I'm going to try to put this little gasket on there. I'm going to see if it actually works. This is just a rubber gasket here that can go over sharp edges of metal. And so I cut a small piece. I also cut slits in it so it will hopefully bend. And the idea is I'm going to shove it up in there and provide some protection for that cable over the metal. Okay, let's make sure I get it on there. Okay. sure it's on both sides. All right, so I've got the rubber on that side and on that side, and I'm not going to use my fingers. This is sharp. So let's see if this works. Hey, look at that. That's not bad. So this wire will go through here and hopefully rest in there like that. There's a YouTube channel called Inch by Inch. They have a very detailed step-by-step, actually inch by inch, step-by-step. Anyway, it's a 50-minute long video, every step fully explained. They also use this turret. That's where I got the idea, and the part number for this turret, which I will link in my description below as well. I got it off of Amazon. So if you want the extremely detailed step-by-step, check them out. And if you just want to stay with me while I get through this every once in a while, my method is to quite literally stop what I'm doing here, check their video for the next thing to do, come back and do it. I am not kidding. That is how I am installing this. All right. So the next step for us is to install the gasket. The gasket does go this side towards the heater itself, and you just line that up with all of the places it goes. And you just line that up and start working your way down. And we're going to want to make sure that we have a really good seal all the way around. Next we have these threaded bolts, and these get inserted to each of the 4 connecting points here. And as usual, I will Loctite everything. Velit did not mention doing this. Inch by Inch did not mention doing this, but you may or may not know this about me. But I will put Loctite on everything. I don't care if there's a nylon Loctite washer to go on top of it or some other mechanism. It is part of how I ensure that nothing ever comes loose. I just make that part of my methodology, and every single bolt gets thread locker. Every single piece of wood in the van gets sealed on all sides, top, bottom, sides, everywhere before it goes in the van, and every bolt gets thread locker. If I'm known for only 2 things in this van building world, let it be thread locker on every bolt and sealing every piece of wood, all sides, before it goes into a van. Just those 2 things alone. So I'm going to get these tight as I can here, finger tight. And then I am going to use a wrench to tighten them down a little bit more, because we definitely don't want them coming out. You have to be careful with this, because if you mess up the threads, your nut's not going to go on there easily. Next is to go ahead and put the turret on, and then put these nuts on to hold it in place. So let me again identify the wire. This is the correct wire for the fuel pump. It's the only one that looks like this with these ends. So I'm going to make sure that comes through. One of the things I need to make sure is that the wire is far enough that way so that it does not interfere with the gasket. I don't want it to cause the gasket problems with seating properly. So let's get a good look at that. So the little gasket I put in there, the little wire protector that I put in there, is preventing proper seating here. So I'm going to have to fix that. So it looks like there's no room for my little gasket at all. All right, so with this, I'm just not going to be able to put any type of protection for the wire in there. There's not enough space. So once it's all installed, I'll probably just put a liquid gasket around the wire and let that set up real nice, and that's the best we can do. You know, literally 3 or 4 days ago, it was 65 and sunny here. we installed the air conditioner on the roof. And now you probably can't see it, but there's actually snow coming down and it's freezing and it's not going to get warm again anytime soon. But gosh, I wish we had that weather now. It would also be good to have the heater running now. This is the perfect day to be in here with the heat. So let's stop procrastinating and get this moving forward. Ended up puncturing the side of the tube. So I'm going to try to get this done the best I can before I lose all out the side. All right, I think that should do it. And later, if I need to add more, I'll get another tube. I'll add some more at the bottom. We're good for now. Now it's time to connect to the gas tank. I actually keep a washer in my cup holder to get these undone. You know, I'm probably in that battery compartment more than I need to be, and I've taken this off before as well to inspect it. So having this around is helpful. Okay. Do you see this? This is just sitting in there. Just sitting in there. So I'm pretty sure this is the one we're looking for. It seems to be just waiting for us. Okay, I'm going to insert the fuel line into, well, the fuel line. And again, this is not to carry the fuel. This is to protect the fuel line, because we're going to go through this compartment here, down to the bottom under the van, and then route it back to the heater over here. So this is much more of a protective layer. Look how thick that is. I did take a piece of this to Lowe's and AutoZone and make sure that it slides through easily. I did not want it to be tight. Again, this is just to protect the fuel line. It's not to provide fuel delivery, so it can be quite loose. All right, I found the path of least resistance. Not sure how successful it will be, but basically I got up in here and looked for daylight, and I saw daylight through here. Of course, I've plugged that up now. So I just moved the hose up on this side and just started shoving it down. Now let's go see where that came out. All right, it did come through. So let me crawl under there and see where that is exactly. All right, so this is the fuel line. Just came down the backside of the fuel tank here. So I think what I'll do is I'll take it up on top of this heat shield for this muffler. It pops out this side of the heat shield. And then this is the passenger side running board here. So I'll just get it close to here and run it all the way back to the heater. So I think that will keep it away from the heat. All right, so I'm going to go underneath the van now and start to run that fuel line back. I'm going to use this type of hanger to connect to the frame of the van as I go back. So where I'm connecting this, the metal of the van is extremely thick and difficult to get through. So a self-tapping screw will not be able to get through if you don't drill it first. So I'm going to have to drill the pilot holes and then come back through with the self-tapping screws to get it set. Okay, I've run the fuel line all the way back to the compartment where the heater is. I've made this loop here, and we're going to have the fuel filter here and the fuel pump here. I made some lines on the wall. It might be difficult for you to see, but these are a 20-degree angle. I've made the connections here, put this section on, and I put the clamps that I bought from Lowe's here and here. Yep, I identified this as the correct piece to go here. And I've got the right amount of slack to be able to connect this on here and tuck that away. This is where I'm going to stop with this piece for now, and I'm going to go under the van and make all the connections there. Okay, I'm underneath the gas tank, and you could see this is the hose coming down, and I've used some heavy-duty zip ties to connect to these 2 points here and here. The bracket on the other side of the fuel tank looks like this. You can see this is where I put the zip ties through on both sides on this bracket here. So I don't have these tightened down quite yet. I want to have some flexibility to move this back and forth if I need to at this point in time. But I do have it going up above the heat shield. All right, I've made all the connections, and so now I'm going to make sure this is at the right angle. So I zero this out, and now I'm going to put it here. All right, so we're at 21.7. That will be fine. As I add more weight to the back of the van, it will tilt down more like this. And as long as we stay under 35, we're going to be fine. Yeah, that'll be fine. So even if I fully load the van with all the water and everything else in it, it's not going to tilt more than, it's definitely not going to tilt that much. Okay, so I'm going to call that good. I've got all the connections here. Fuel filter, got the loop that goes all the way to the front. Okay, that comes off. That goes on. Okay, that's pretty much it. This is the wiring harness for the fuel pump. I'm getting ready to connect that underneath there. Before I do it, I did add some silicone to this side of the connector just to seal that back end off. And what am I going to put on the connectors here? Yes, you guessed it, dielectric grease or dielectric compound. Skipping ahead, I went ahead and made all the electrical connections here to the Ecoflow system, and made the connections for the thermostat, and just going over the directions for how to start it up for the first time. This is the completed install. This is the fresh air intake. Exhaust comes down, and then the muffler. It goes down a little further and turns down at the end. From a sliding door, the muffler is here, and I ran the exhaust back towards the rear tire here. You can hear the clicking of the fuel pump. I'm pretty close to it, so it's loud here. Inside the van, I can barely hear it. You can also see in red there, I added some more of that high heat silicone gasket. And speaking of heat, it's getting a little warm here next to the exhaust, so I'm going to get back out of here. We have heat. It's been 2 long days to install this, and it's not fully installed. I haven't done the wire management, I haven't cleaned up, the van is trashed, but we have heat. This is so amazing. I can't even tell you. I'm going to close the door, and I'm going to let this thing warm me up a little bit. I'm just going to sit in here and enjoy it for a little while.